I have with me Monu, who is 32 years old, has come from Punjab to Hyderabad for this particular surgery. In fact, he is someone who has become now, created a record in that sense, has become the first recipient of this double lung transplant. He was, in fact, he had even contracted COVID, and despite that has come out victorious on the other side. Monu, ये जर्नी आप कह रहे थे कि नॉर्मल आपकी चाइल्डहुड रही, सिर्फ आपको पिछले 2 साल में पता चला, और उसके बाद लंग ट्रांसप्लांट ऐसे होना, आप बताइए अपना आपका एक्सपीरियंसेस कैसे रहे?
मैम बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, मेरे को न्यू लाइफ मिल गया। इससे बढ़कर क्या हो सकता है कि मेरे को फर्स्ट हाँ कि मेरे को कोविड हुआ, कोविड से बढ़कर मेरी लाइफ ख़त्म है। बट मैं तो यही लोगों को कहना चाहूँगा जितने भी कोविड में हैं कि उससे न्यू लाइफ मिली है और स्ट्रॉन्ग बनी है अपना।
मन में हिम्मत होना बहुत ज़रूरी है।
हिम्मत होना बहुत ज़रूरी है मैम अपनी हिम्मत, विल पावर रखी है जो अब तक हूँ। फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम थी तो फिर सेल किया। बाकी मेरे बॉस डॉक्टर मनीष चंडीगढ़ में गैस्ट्रोएंटेरोलॉजिस्ट, उन्होंने सपोर्ट की। बाकी थैंक्स करना चाहूँगा अपने डोनर फैमिली को, डॉक्टर संदीप टीम जो मेरी इतनी सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं और मेरे देखभाल कर रहे हैं।
ओके, कोविड के ज़माने में उम्मीद तो शायद उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं थी।
बिल्कुल छोड़ चुका था उम्मीद में, उम्मीद नहीं थी। जब मेरे को कोविड का कंफर्म हुआ, कोविड के लिए मेरे को शिफ्ट किया गया वहाँ पे, पर मेरे को उम्मीद नहीं थी कि मैं रिकवर हो पाऊँगा या नहीं। एक्चुअली ऑलरेडी लंग्स पेशेंट प्लस कोविड, मेरे को बिल्कुल होप नहीं थी, पर फिर भी विल पावर रखी कि कवर हो जाएगा। तो बस भगवान अल्लाह जो चाहे वो ऊपर।
Okay, okay, okay. Thanking the Almighty and of course all those forces that have made this happen. So many people, like Monu was mentioning, from the donor family to those people who made the organ harvesting possible, transport possible, everything was facilitated, and finally Monu was able to get those lungs and doing well now. We wish him very well. Best wishes aapko. The world conspires to make it happen, sometimes we say, and in this case a double lung transplant to a COVID patient, the organ coming in from West Bengal to Hyderabad. I have with me Dr. Sandeep Patawar, who has in fact made it all happen. This is quite phenomenal in COVID times. Tell us more, how did it happen? Your patient is doing well.
Thank you, ma'am. I think it's more great part of the credit has to be given to not just donor agencies who allowed this allocation to happen, but also medical teams on both ends of the spectrum at the transplant hospital itself and the donor hospital, where people cooperated in an unforeseen way to ensure that a family sacrifice to such a noble cause did not go wasted. So I think and the icing on the cake has largely been the police services, the civil aviation department, Air Asia, who did a lot to facilitate and speeden up the aircraft. So I think everyone comes together to make an event such as this happen. Otherwise we wouldn't imagine that somebody who had a terminal lung condition, contracted COVID, got even worse, got a lung on time, and especially during COVID times when you do not have airplanes and you don't have the ability to fly across the country to pick up an organ. I think this was a very surreal moment for
What kind of timelines were you looking at? I know that an organ has to be transplanted within a particular time. We saw the Hyderabad police also doing a stellar job. In fact, Cyberabad and Hyderabad coming together and transplanting it here. You mentioned Air Asia flying it from there. How many hours did this entire operation, so to speak, take?
So we try to minimize this transportation time, and transportation time is generally called cold ischemia time or warm ischemia time or whichever, which is part of the operation. So whenever you're talking about ischemia time, you're looking at the organ out to the organ in and blood flowing through it, and it's starting to work once again. So the shorter it is, the better it is. Sadly, even the operation is part of ischemia time. So the longer you take to move blood into the organ, the worse unfortunately it would be for that transplanted organ. So everything is like a ticking, like a timer. We're all working backwards and trying to break the 6-hour boundary maximize to an 8-hour boundary. So if you get both your lungs in and working within 6 hours, the outcomes are generally much better worldwide. As you move towards the 8-hour boundary, you're pushing the science, but you're still managing to do it within the ethical guidelines that or the framework recommends you. But beyond 8 hours, I think it is serendipity, you know, because sometimes unfortunately the lungs are so bad, explanting them takes time. Some of them bleed a lot, so making sure that the bleeding is under control before you implant the lung is very important. Many of them had previous procedures, so in that sense, sometimes the technical difficulties that the team finds itself in can prolong the operation. But at those points in time, I think it's also a lot of divine intervention that probably sometimes helps you. But a team that works together, a team that does this in a more process oriented manner, are people who generally can surmount these challenges.
How difficult was it, because this is also a COVID patient?
So I think the first challenge, ma'am, was the fact that all of us had this trepidation that would we contract the disease. So for a transplant team, which is generally a very large team, this is the biggest concern, because then we are dealing with other patients who are also waiting for a transplant. So to convince yourself and the team that this is probably a safe bet to take, we need multiple testing. We need to go through 8 or 9 weeks of post-COVID infection, make sure that the patient is tested negative for all in all fashion. Unfortunately, you can't use a CT because somebody with 50 liters of oxygen can't enter a CT gantry. But yes, blood testing would allow you to determine that he is COVID negative before you take him back on the wait list. The other thing was also the Jeevan Daan organization and its head, Dr. Swarnalatha, who are very gracious to accept and understand that, you know, somebody who has now tested negative can be considered a candidate. There are currently no guidelines in the country, but you know, their foresight and their forthrightness in helping in making this happen is also one of the key contributors to what we've been able to.
This is a time when, in fact, even elective surgeries, everything is getting affected. That you're saying COVID times a transplant, a double lung transplant was possible. What's the message to the people then?
Unfortunately, it's not a great message for me to say that a lung transplantation is a great news for anyone who has had COVID infection. But yes, it is a great ray of hope. In that sense, nobody wants a double lung transplant. But yes, there are thousands of youngsters, middle-aged individuals who have had the ravages of COVID and are now on high doses of steroids and medications and still find it very difficult to walk 5 steps. Their CT scan and their testing has shown that their lungs are irreparably damaged. Though we believe that with time some of this fibrosis can recover and regress, most of them do not. And when patients have this, their longevity or their productivity in life is cut short. This is exactly a ray of hope for those individuals, for those people who believe that there is nothing left for them. This is probably a step forward. But more importantly, I think the message is that when before COVID struck, India needed probably 250,000 lung transplants annually, probably 200,000 heart transplants annually. I'm sure the number of lungs and kidneys is even far greater, but we do not have adequate number of donations happening even for those pre-existing numbers. Post-COVID, this number, especially with lungs, is probably doubled, maybe tripled. So the requirement is going to be far greater, not just for India, but for the world in its entirety. So the message that I would probably like to convey best was to increase awareness in organ donation in many ways, because that is going to be the only resource that is probably going to decide how we are going to save so many other lives. Because I'm sure there are enough teams who can do this. There's enough medical expertise in the country. It's only the opportunity to be able to do it.
How is your patient doing now?
He's doing great, ma'am. He's about to be discharged today. I think he should walk out of the hospital probably in the next 24 hours.
And he's someone who's come from Punjab, in fact, and waited for that organ here, yeah. And then he's...
and he's going back, probably after 3 months, because the next 3 months he's going to be around to make sure that all his testing is continued. His drug levels are monitored. We make sure that he does not have anything we call rejection, because rejection is the next concern. Now that he's been treated, how is he going to accept this new lung? Is he going to show signs which will require us to treat him with various cocktails of medications, is what our team will be pursuing very closely, and also monitoring the function of his new lung. Yeah. Because these are things which are going to allow us to determine how his longevity would be.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So this is a time when we are talking about every agency being hugely challenged, whether it's the police force, medical fraternity, and yet the fact that everyone came together to make this happen and make one double lung transplant possible in times of COVID. In Hyderabad, with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.